We will now present our honorary degree for 2018. Our university bestows the honorary degrees upon individuals whose accomplishments represent the values our institution holds dear. Chancellor Mills, I have the honor to present to you Geoffrey Canada to receive the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa.
Geoffrey Canada, for your work as a leader and advocate for children and families in underserved communities, the University of Massachusetts, Boston welcomes you on this, our commencement day. You have been a leading and inspiring figure in the field of urban education, serving as president and CEO of the Harlem Children's Zone. Coming from a modest background in a distressed South Bronx neighborhood, you were able to bring empathy and urgency to your role. You have been a leading figure in the field of urban education and regeneration for more than 30 years, and your block-by-block approach to combating poverty through intensive educational and social intervention has become a national model, inspiring initiatives like the federal government's Promise Initiatives program. The aims of the Harlem Children's Zone are such to inspire the New York Times to describe your organization as one of the most ambitious social policy experiments of our time. After earning a bachelor's degree from Bowdoin College and a master's degree from Harvard Graduate School of Education, you began your life's work. In 2011, you were named to the Time 100 list of the most influential people in the world. In 2014, you were named one of Fortune's 50th greatest leaders in the world. And in addition, you served as co-chair of the Commission on Economic Opportunity. You were later appointed to the New York State Governor's Council on Economic and Fiscal Advisors. You're an advisor and board member of several nonprofit organizations that do vitally important work, as well as an author of Fist, Stick, Knife, Gun, A Personal History of Violence in America, as well as Reaching Up for Manhood, Transforming the Lives of Boys in America. You've written for a number of national publications, including the New York Times and beyond. You're featured in the documentary Waiting for Superman, and on 60 Minutes, The Oprah Winfrey Show, Anderson Cooper, Black in America, too, in newspapers across America and the world. And in Whatever It Takes, journalist Paul Tufts' detailed look at your work at the Harlem Children's Zone. By authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees in the University of Massachusetts, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa. In accordance with the usual custom and token thereof, we award you this diploma and invest you with the hood of a Doctor of Humane Letters. Congratulations, my friend. And so now it is my absolute pleasure to introduce to you our UMass Boston favorite son with to deliver our 2018 commencement address. Please welcome Geoffrey Canada.
Thank you, Chancellor Mills. Good morning, trustees, faculty, parents, loved ones, and especially the class of 2018. My message today is for the graduates. Today you are graduating from one of the most prestigious schools in our country. There are some institutions that have a reputation so stellar that just saying you received a degree from there makes people think you are really smart. The University of Massachusetts, Boston is such an institution. And if by some means you have managed to graduate from here and you are not really smart, please try to keep that hidden from the public. Your classmates and alma mater will appreciate it. Over 40 years ago, I received my graduate degree from the Harvard Graduate School of Education, and I remember it like it was yesterday. Armed with that degree, which certified to the entire world how brilliant I was, I couldn't wait to demonstrate to any and all who had the misfortune of working with me how talented I was. My peers were not impressed. I was young, but I was convinced that my generation would make America a better country, and I had my eyes on the top spot. The top spot was held by my mother's generation. They are called the greatest generation. They won the war, defeated the Nazis, ended the Holocaust, launched an industrial revolution. And I was determined that my generation would do better. You see, I have always been deeply moved by the sacrifices that others made to make our country the greatest nation on earth. I loved the ideal of America even while grappling with its imperfect reality. I knew right out of college what many people still don't understand. Countries don't become great by themselves. It takes heroic sacrifice. Our country was created, molded, and improved by men and women whose moral compass was not moved by the influence of wealth, prestige, or notoriety. They believed that America stood as a beacon for the world on what true freedom, true democracy really means. These leaders became my role models, and I sought them out for inspiration. I made a promise to myself that I would be like them. I would challenge America to become a better place for its children. In 1975, when I graduated, it was evident to me that America needed to become a better place for children. Growing up in the South Bronx, which was the poorest congressional district in the United States, I saw firsthand what can happen when people are desperately poor. Not just financially poor, but poor in spirit and without hope. I saw the crime, the violence, the filth, the drugs, and I made a promise that if God allowed me to survive that place, I would bring an end to children growing up in places other Americans wouldn't be caught dead in. I looked to my role models for guidance. My first role model who called me to a life of service was Rosa Parks. Her story, known by all, inspired a poor boy to believe that an individual courageous act could change the world. While I was in elementary school, President Kennedy, at his inauguration, challenged the nation to ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. As a young boy, he meant so much to me because he stood up for civil rights, challenged segregation and Jim Crow, an evil practice that, if left unchecked, would destroy America. He sacrificed his life for our country when he was assassinated in Dallas in 1963. I was in the 6th grade. His brother, Bobby Kennedy, picked up his brother's mantle. He forced America to see the impact of poverty and continued to challenge the prejudice and racism in this country. Bobby Kennedy knew that he was risking his life, but he was a great American. He was assassinated in 1968. The same year that Bobby Kennedy was assassinated, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. I was in the 10th grade. So just imagine what I was experiencing. I'm in high school and Americans are going to jail, being cursed and beaten and being killed so that one day I might get a good education, live in a decent home, get a decent job. People with everything to lose, money, fame, loving families, lost it all for the ideals this country stood for. Who could not feel obligated to continue their work to ensure their deaths would not be in vain. With these men and women as my role model, you can see why I felt compelled to make this country a better place. The promise I made as a teen that I would get a great education and come back to rescue children trapped in our urban ghettos was something that I took seriously. And I have spent my life trying to keep that promise. And this is something that I want you to remember. I could have never created the Harlem Children's Zone by myself. My partner, Stan Druckenmiller, a businessman, we built the zone together. The hundreds of millions of dollars we have raised over my tenure have come from businesses, philanthropists, foundations, and government. To me, this is the greatness of America. Men and women coming together from different walks of life to join together in a common cause to make this a better country. I would love to say to you that my generation has accomplished my dream of being a better generation than my parents. Alas, we have not. While my generation has done real good and made real progress, we have also left you a real mess. We denied climate change until we have damaged our world environment. We have child poverty rates that are staggering, with approximately 15 million American children still living in poverty. 38% of all black children are poor. Over 43 million Americans are on food stamps. Children who are poor in this country still cannot get a quality education. And our country locks up more people per capita than any place on the face of the earth. And if that wasn't bad enough, when you look at the leadership in this country, you see politicians so indebted to special interests that even the deaths of 25 and 6-year-olds in the Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut, couldn't convince our Congress to pass even weak handgun legislation. So, I wish I could stand before you today and say that my generation is leaving you a country that is better than the one we inherited from our parents. It's not that we haven't done any good. We eradicated polio, created technology that is revolutionary. We've improved civil rights, gay rights, women's rights. But we haven't kept my promise to eliminate those places where our children don't have a chance. America's children are more in peril than ever. But I am not worried about my promise, because let me tell you what else my role models have taught me. The best of America is yet to come. The work we don't complete that attempts to make this a better country, the next generation will finish it. In 1900, when Susan B. Anthony, another of my role models, who courageously fought to end slavery and then led the women's suffrage movement, was asked when women would get the right to vote, she said, "It will come, but I shall not see it. It is inevitable. We can no more deny forever the right of self-government to one half of our people than we could keep the Negro forever in bondage. It will not be wrought by the same disrupting forces that freed the slave, but come it will, and I believe, within a generation. 14 years after her death, the 19th Amendment granting women the right to vote was passed. People believe that Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech was his greatest. I don't agree. I was always the most moved by the speech Dr. King gave in Memphis, Tennessee, right before he was assassinated, which was later called the Mountaintop Speech. In that speech, Dr. King confirmed what I believe today. The work of making this a better country is often started by someone, but left to others to complete. In that speech, Dr. King said, and then I got into Memphis, and some began to say the threats or talk about the threats that were out. What would happen to me from some of my sick white brothers? Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. And I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go to the mountain, and I've looked over, and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. Dr. King was assassinated the next day at the Lorraine Motel. We named our school's Promise Academy because I promised our children and their parents that I would fulfill Dr. King's I Have a Dream promise. I promised that we would be there from birth through graduating college. My problem today is that my 13,000 children believe me. You see, to my children, I'm 8 feet tall and I'm a superstar. My children know I must be a star because they saw me on Oprah 4 times. So when I walk around my school, my children point and yell with enthusiasm, "It's Mr. Canada, it's Mr. Canada." They want to shake my hand or give me a hug. It's really the cutest thing you've ever seen. They love me and I love them. By saving these children, I hope I can set an example that inspires America to save all children. There's one problem, though. I'm 66. My 7-year-olds think I will be there when they graduate high school and sit here like you, graduating from prestigious colleges and graduate schools. But I will not. My time has come to an end. After 32 years of working at the Harlem Children's Zone, I retired in June of 2014. Others will have to finish this work. Someone else will have to pick up the mantle and say, no matter what I end up doing as a career, I will make sure I leave my country a better place than was left to me. I promised my kids, and I need you to promise me. You see, I've had a great career. Today I have more recognition than I'm comfortable with. I have celebrity friends and get A-list invitations. It's really quite a distraction, but a distraction nevertheless. I keep my eye on that prize, that promised land for my children that is America's future that Dr. King talked about. My time is running out, and there is so much to do. I'm at a place now where the famous poem by Robert Frost takes on new meaning. The woods are lovely, dark, and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. 10 years from now, when I'm puttering around my house and playing with my grandchildren, I know I will be constantly smiling, and my wife, knowing how serious I am about things, will ask why I'm so happy. And I'll say, because my children will be saved. And she'll say, well, but how do you know? You haven't been to work in years. And I'll say, because those kids were so smart and so talented, the best we have. And they promised they could do anything they wanted with their lives. They graduated from the University of Massachusetts, Boston, and they promised. My promise to my kids will be kept. I know it. And I'll look at my wife, Yvonne, and I'll say, I think they might be the greatest generation yet. You'll see. God bless and Godspeed the class of 2018.